Welcome to the Read to Achieve Parent and Community Information session. This presentation will be narrated and can be stopped at any point for translation. The goal of the presentation is to provide clarity to the process and to answer any of your questions. This process is brand new, and in some cases we still do not have all the answers either at the state level and or district level. My name is Dr. Mark Tracy, and I will be serving as the narrator for today's PowerPoint. My role in Durham Public Schools is that of the Senior Area Facilitator for Elementary Education. I've also been tasked with helping support the district implementing Read to Achieve across the district. Read to Achieve is part of the Excellent Public Schools Act. The Excellent Public Schools Act was adopted in July of 2012 as part of the State Budget Act. There are 7 major components to the Read to Achieve initiative, and they became effective at the beginning of the 2013 and 14 school year. The first component for Read to Achieve is a comprehensive plan for reading achievement process. Each district has been tasked to develop a comprehensive plan to improve reading achievement not only in kindergarten through 3rd grade, but all the way through high school. The expectation from the state is that effective reading instruction will be based on research, utilizing the Common Core standards. The state of North Carolina has developed a reading plan, and Durham Public Schools is currently using that plan to develop a plan that is geared more towards our district. What you see in here is the table of contents for the state of North Carolina's comprehensive reading plan. As you will see, there are multiple sections. NCDPI stands for North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. LEA stands for Local Educational Agency. In this case, that would mean Durham Public Schools, school administrators, teachers, and appendixes. Each of the sections have the same components, thus trying to develop a comprehensive plan that fits within itself. Durham Public Schools will use this template as its foundation for developing the district comprehensive reading plan. Please note that this process is still ongoing at the district level. In reference to parents, you may not see the comprehensive reading plan per se, but we hope and expect that you'll see increased rigor and higher expectations in the classroom in the area of reading. This plan is comprehensive and will take some time to develop, but once it's developed, we at the district level truly believe it will have a dramatic impact on all our students, kindergarten through 12th grade, and their ability to read and read at high levels. The second major component to the Read to Achieve law is the kindergarten entry assessment process. The kindergarten entry assessment process is the only component under Read to Achieve that did not start during the 2013-14 school year. This process will not start until 2014 and 15. This assessment has 5 essential domains: language and literacy, cognition and general knowledge, approaches to learning, physical well-being and motor development, and finally social and emotional development. This assessment is still being developed at the state level, therefore we have not seen the final copy. However, DPS currently completes 4 out of the 5 components, so we feel very confident that the transition at the beginning of next year should be relatively simple for our teachers and incoming kindergarten students. Component 3 of the Read to Achieve law is facilitating early grade reading proficiency process. What this component really means is a series of assessments that are given to students in kindergarten through 3rd grade throughout the year. These assessments are both formative and diagnostic. Formative assessments mean that they are ongoing throughout the school year, and diagnostic means they identify the instructional needs of the students. These assessments provide instructional support and services for teachers so that they can provide support for students who are struggling in the area of reading. These assessments also identify the root cause of what is the difficulty for reading for each of the students on the assessment. For the state of North Carolina, we are using the M-Class Reading 3D. There are 2 components of this assessment. the Dibbles Next, and the TRC, or Text Reading Comprehension. The Dibbles Next assessments are short 60-second assessments that give a pulse check on the student's development in the area of reading. These assessments may include first sound fluency, letter naming fluency, phoneme segmentation fluency, nonsense word fluency, and Dibbles oral reading fluency, sometimes called DORF. The TRC assessment is an individualized administered assessment using leveled readers from books, a set of books, to determine a student's instructional reading level, the reading level at which he or she is not only performing well, but also being challenged. During this measure, students are asked to read a benchmark book and complete a number of follow-up tasks, which may include oral comprehension, written comprehension, recalling, and retelling. As parents, you should have received a Home Connect letter. Here is an example of this letter. As you can see, this letter provides specific information on your child's progress and a variety of different assessments. If you have not received this letter, please ask your homeroom teacher. And if you have and you still have questions, please contact your homeroom teacher, as they should be able to provide you clear information on how to read this report. The goal of this entire process is to make sure that your classroom teacher is very aware of the individual needs of every student in the classroom, so that they can identify not only the strengths but areas to grow the student, so that their instruction is meeting the specific needs of each and every student inside the classroom. Component 4 is the elimination of social promotion. Social promotion is most commonly known as students who are promoted to the next grade even though they have not met the standards of that current grade. This is a common practice in elementary schools, in the sense that schools promote students to the following grade with the hopes that with continued interventions and support, the child will have an opportunity to catch up to his or her peers. Component 4 has the biggest impact on schools and families because the schools and parents have limited ability to circumvent the law. The goal of Read to Achieve is to have all exiting third grade students reading on grade level based on pre-established standards. The key standard in this case is the end of grade test in reading at the end of third grade. Please note there are good cause exemptions that allow students to be promoted to fourth grade without having passed the end of grade test. There are multiple good cause exemptions, and we will discuss each of them in greater detail. As for good cause exemptions, there are 5 ways your child could be exempt from the required retention process at the end of third grade. Please remember, good cause exemptions only come into play if your child does not pass the end of grade test in reading at the end of third grade. The math assessment at the end of third grade has no impact on the Read to Achieve law. The first good cause exemption is for students who have been identified as limited English proficient students. If a student is a limited English proficient student and they have less than 2 years of instruction in an English as a second language program, they could be promoted without passing the end of grade test in reading at the end of third grade. Students with an individualized education plan who take the Extend 1 end of grade test in reading are also exempt from this law. If your child has an individualized education plan, please contact their case manager to see what assessment they are taking in the area of reading. Please remember, only Extend 1 students are exempt from this law. Third are students who have been retained more than one time in kindergarten through third grade, meaning they have already been retained twice. These students would be exempt. The next two good cause exemptions need more explanation, but they are passing the Read to Achieve alternative assessment or completing a reading portfolio. We will now discuss the Read to Achieve alternative assessment and reading portfolio in greater detail. Students who do not pass the end of grade test in reading will be given the chance to take a retest of the end of grade test. If they do not pass the end of grade test a second time, they can take the Read to Achieve alternative assessment. As I discussed earlier, there are some parts of this process that are not complete. One of them is the Read to Achieve alternative assessment. The state is still working on the assessment, so we do not have all the details. What we have been told is that it is similar to the end of grade test with reading passages and multiple choice responses. But we have also been told there are more text-embedded answers, meaning there are answers that are embedded specifically in the reading passage that students can pull out to help them answer the questions. Students will have a couple of chances to take this assessment. Once at the end of the third grade test, once they have not passed EOG, and the other is after the summer reading camp. We will discuss the summer reading camp in greater detail later in this presentation. The reading portfolio is another good cause exemption for students to show proficiency in the area of reading. This process allows students a chance to show proficiency over an extended period of time, and it is not based on a one-day test, unlike the end of grade test or the Read to Achieve alternative assessment. M-class and other data collected by the teacher is used to determine who is at risk of failing the end of grade test and reading at the end of third grade. This process is not for students who are above or on grade level in the area of reading. The process does not start until January to allow the teachers the time to provide quality instruction in the area of reading and to provide interventions throughout the year to meet the needs of students. Please note that this process is consistent across the state of North Carolina. The portfolio is based on the 12 standards of reading in the third grade. Students will be given a secured reading passage with 5 questions. A passage is typically a paragraph of 2 of reading. Students must answer 4 out of the 5 questions correctly to show proficiency for that passage. Students must show proficiency on 3 different passages per standard, which means that they must show proficiency on 36 separate passages overall. There are 10 different passages per standard to allow students a chance to pass each standard multiple times. Students can only be given a total of 3 passages per week. When the students complete a passage, it must be a cold read, meaning that they cannot preview the passage or do the same passage twice. This is an independent process, so there is no teacher or peer support. When students are reading the passage and completing the questions, it is an untimed process for all students. However, students with accommodations are allowed those same accommodations if they qualify. This process must occur at the school, but can be taken during a typical classroom lesson or any time throughout the instructional day. The classroom teacher determines who and when the assessments will be given, but it is best practices that these assessments should match the standards that are being taught in the classroom. The assessments will be given based on individual student need, therefore the sequencing for students will vary. This concludes part 1 of this video. We will conclude the rest of it on part 2, where we will discuss the remaining components and also components and parts of the portfolio.